Hi everybody, so thank you again for coming. I think we're ready to start now. It's 4 o'clock. Hi, I'm Chris and this is Akshay.
Akshay, yeah.
And we're going to showcase some of the newer elements of Insights. This session, as I said, is being live streamed, so we will remain seated, the pair of us, for the best audio and say a hello to everyone online. And also, congratulations to those of you in the room for finding this section of the convention center that I previously never knew existed. So, well done. So, I know you want to see all the really new, shiny stuff, but we've evolved the app a lot over the past few years. So, I ask at the start for your patience, and like a good Netflix show, I'm going to start with a little recap of what we've introduced to Insights thus far. Please don't leave. This will only take 5 minutes, 6 at most, and then I'm going to hand over to Akshay, who's going to walk us through some of the newest additions to Insights, including the latest offering of our pre-analysis data engineering tool, a look at the options on the map card, and also how you can share your insights in a whole new way to before. So, charts and dashboards simply show you data in visual form. Insights takes this much further into the world of geovisual analytics. So, analytical reasoning, including spatial information, and facilitated by interactive visual interfaces. There's a lot of other visual analytics tools out there, and you already have ArcGIS. So why are we using Insights? Well, unlike many other applications, there's no need to set up or model anything. You can simply drag and drop. No need to navigate endless menus, no confusion on what fields to place where, no setup of rows and columns in order to eventually reach the chart you want. It's easy to understand. I hope you find that, and supported by clear documentation. So, some of you use Insights for basic charting or as a simplified GIS, and that's fine. However, it's much more than that. We have the ability to make any final changes to your data, such as here in data engineering. We can offer aggregated summary tables and in-row graphics that are not in some separate window or pane, but right there on your page alongside your charts and analysis. We let you make maps far beyond simple points on a set base map, such as these Insights examples. Beneath the Action button lies a whole range of analysis tools, from calculating percentage change, to regression analysis, to seasonal temporal decomposition and forecasting. And like dashboards and GIS, the focus here is statistics and exploring further the reasons behind the charts and the reasons behind the data you see on your cards. And if you want to take those statistics further, or if you want to control or automate your import of data, then let's not forget we also have the scripting console. Speaking of data flow, you may have missed that you can now connect Insights to a wider range of data types and sources. And we can share everything as a professional report, including the option to customize it right within Insights and to export to different devices, or for different devices. So. As well as science and reasoning, Insights also connects multiple tables to multiple geometries, allows you to schedule updates and easily refresh data sources. And of course, even when you share it with decision makers, everything is still interactive. I hope you enjoyed the recap. I hope you were reminded why Insights is unique, and I hope you noticed something new to you. Those of us working on Insights, along with many customers already using it, firmly believe this kind of application will become a mainstay within many of your businesses if it isn't already. So, even as Esri begins to embrace a shift into AI like everyone else, and whatever comes next, I continue to believe that human visual interaction has a key role to play in turning raw data into a shared and trusted understanding. A view that is supported by scientific research in the US, in China, and elsewhere around the world. Okay, so over to Akshay for a live demonstration.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Akshay. I'm a senior product engineer on the Insights team. Thanks, Chris, for the nice background. Hope you'll get most out of this particular presentation today and demo. So I am currently using ArcGIS Insights desktop product, where you can see you have you're landing on home screen. Insights now allows you to filter, clean, and modify your data with use of data engineering. Over here, you can see on the left, under analysis, we have these analytic workbooks, as well as now in desktop, you have ArcGIS Insights data workbooks. So data workbooks will let you create models to clean up your data. So I'm going to start by creating a data engineering workbook. And once you land on this page, you can add your data just like in your analysis. If you have used already analysis views, you can add data from multiple sources, bring that together from different sources, and output it to your local or in your databases. So let's start by adding content. I am using a energy storage data set and facilities data across Europe. So this data mainly comprise of facilities that produce electricity in different types and forms. We got this data from OECD, which is available online to download. When you add this data, before adding it to your workspace, you can choose import options. You can filter data set or trim empty spaces. If you know your data set has a lot of trailing or leading empty spaces, you can do that operation beforehand, and you can filter your data set beforehand. If you have a large data set, which this isn't right now, if it's more than 250,000 records, we bring in a sample and you just work off of the sample. Right now, and you can choose to sample randomly or do a fixed sampling. So right now I'll just go into filter data set and see what my data looks like. And here you have a chance to take a brief moment and see what fields you want and don't want in your analysis. And I can see there are a bunch of fields on in here which I don't want in my analysis, or they're empty. So I can remove this column 1 and column 2. And I know that I will not be working on some of the fields such as grid connection level today and grid operator, etc. I can choose to search them here. If you have a long list of fields, it makes it really easy to search. You can advanced filter before you add the data in your workbook, so that you reduce this amount of data to bring into your analysis right off the bat, or even reduce the workload on the processing for cleaning up your data as well. So let's hit finish. I will move into the workbook now, and hitting add will add this data on your data pane. If you have used our Insights desktop and data engineering component, and if you are familiar with data engineering, you might have seen we have rehauled the entire UI to make it more streamlined for our users to access and make more efficient use of their time while they're working in the application. So I'll go over a brief summary of what we have changed. A lot of the column tools are organized into a logical fashion. All the tools that run on entire data sets are listed in the tool pane on the left. It also includes data pane, advanced filters, calculate columns, and enable location. The enable location we introduced here is the same enable location that is available in ArcGIS analysis view. And you can pre-enable location before you bring your data for analyzing and analysis workbooks. So, once you, all the multiple dataset level tools are on up top here under create relationship is one dataset tool, so you can create relationships there. And column specific tools are always under the column drop down. Let's start by creating a location. I have a country and a city field here, so let's start by adding addresses, locating by addresses. And I want to choose different countries, so I will scroll all the way up to go and multiple countries. It will automatically select your cities and countries, then I can start by locating them. And of course, by adding location in fields, you can see that we have we have to show that field on the table, and of course that brings up to the next option that we added, which is the mapping component. In data engineering, having mapping component is something new and unique as well, so that you can see the spatial distribution of your data and make decisions if you want to trim your data, keep them, or filter them out depending on where they are located. We have been all there, like a lot of our data appears right in middle of the continent next to Africa. So you can choose to filter those out here quickly. We also went in and changed how you interact with this application and made it much more usable and efficient. So instead of, for example, instead of clicking onto the tools and selecting column summary, I can just click on the column headers now to view the summary of this table. We also added selections and interactions to your summary view and the table and the map as well. So clicking on some of these tables, some of these bars, it will get selected across your maps and vice versa. And you can see the summary view over on the right side, all the unique values it has. So you have that information to filter out your data or change how you feel like. So let's start by looking at some of our fields. I'll collapse my data pane so I have more work space to deal with. I see I have date of commissioning column, and let's take a look at this particular column and see why it is not a date column on its own. Looking at it, I see that we have a date range as an incorrect input in this field, which should be actually the starting date of commissioning of these facilities. So let's start by calculating a new column. You could go multiple different ways of cleaning this data set, but let's start by creating a new column. Let's name it start date. And I have already copied an expression which says what I want to do, but I will explain that in a sec. So if I'm using a function here trying to find the dash in between, and if the dash is located at, I think probably at the 6th location, if the output is 6, it's greater than 1, then concatenate just January 1st and left 4-digit, that is starting year of this particular range. And if not, just keep it data commissioning as is. So let's start by adding it. So that tool has been added to your model view. And if we want more space around, you can of course click and show and hide your model view or table view if you want to focus on one of the main components. One other thing you will notice, the create column tool is up on the screen still, so that increases your efficiency if you want to add more fields by taking a look at your data and working together with your data and keep adding more tools or the same tools and do that operation and move on to some other operation. All right, the next field I created is also a string field. So let's start by converting that field to a date time field. And under here, let's change our output type as a date or time field. By default, it adds a standardized expression format there, which you would want to change to what it looks like in your column. So in this case, it is mm/dd, mm/dd/yy.
If you want to look up acceptable formats to put into here, I believe if you do a web search for ArcGIS Insights field roles, then that will bring up examples of this kind of thing, of what you can put in that box.
Right. And as you can see, our start date column is now created. We no longer need our old column, so we can just go ahead and remove that. Oh, sorry, we opened the wrong tool there. One sec. Oh no, we added a remove column tool. That's good. So now I'm finished with the overall what I wanted to clean up in this particular data set. So I'm ready to name my data set and export it to my local content. You can click on the white version of the pill to change the title and how you want to export this data set, or where you want to export this data set. I'm just going to name it facilities data set. And you can also publish this to the database you're connected to. Right now, since I'm outside of SD network, I'm not connected to any databases, but you could put your data and publish it to a database. If we have created multiple relationships in here, they will be stored in a local content still, so you can have a quick access to that data that is referenced from databases, and it will still retain all your joins and information about the joins. Right now, for this demo purpose, I'll just keep it local content and save it. Once that is saved, and I can run this model, which will create a new data set in my local content. I'm ready to move forward to my analysis workbook. So that concludes our data engineering component, and we can move on to our analysis now. So let me just save this out, move back to home page, to the analysis workbook. And here I've already created a workbook, so don't need to create a new one. And in this particular section, I'll add the content I just created, or the facilities data set. While I'm here, I would like to bring in some other data set from Living Atlas. Let's add some countries, generalized data set. And let's add it to our workbook. Just 1 sec. All right, so we have our data in the workbook, and let's start by I want to show some of the mapping enhancements that we recently did. We have a lot of new effort towards creating and making your maps look like how you want. So I'm going to go through 5 or 6 different mapping updates that we recently introduced. So in order to do that, I will start by creating a spatial aggregation layer, and I will style it by the power installed capacity for these facilities, and maximum pods installed by country, basically. So hitting run, let's start by creating that aggregation layer. So that will bring me to my first set of updates, mapping updates that we did. Let's start by increasing the size of this card so you guys can see it a little better, and maybe pop out the legend and keep it alongside so we see the updates to the legend as well. Hopefully that is looking well there. All right. Going into layer options here, I will change the symbology from counts and amount sizes to counts amount color. You notice that we have this color palette set, and now moving to appearances tab, you can choose from a whole bunch of different color palettes. You can reverse them to make it feel like how you really want it to look like.
So for example, if you wanted to emphasize the lows as opposed to the highs, and these color ramps that you see, they're the same ones that you see elsewhere in ArcGIS Online, so in Map Viewer, for example.
We also categorize them in a logical order. Say, for example, diverging colors, then you can filter those out quickly. And for this particular one, I want to use something from the lighter backgrounds, and maybe something like this would look really nice. So we have our labels now. We have our color ramps now, so let's move on to my next update, which is labels. So going into this annotation tab, I know a lot of people, a lot of you are asking about, I want to label our maps and make sure our reports look as professional as possible, and I can customize those. So we have heard you guys, and we added this particular feature, which I think will be definitely helpful for a lot of you. So labeling by which field, you can select that here, and you can of course change your font types. We added a bunch of fonts which are, in this particular case, I will choose one of the bold fonts so you can see it a little better. Maybe change the color to white a little bit and increase the size. Make it offset. I don't need to make an offset right now, but if you want to choose an offset to not overlap any other labels you have on the map, that will definitely be helpful. Show a halo, definitely not a white, maybe something on the lines of red that can blend with the map, feels like it is a part of the map. And of course, we now honor visible ranges for your labels, as well as the layers. So you can choose your labels to appear on a certain level by choosing the slider, or just going into the drop down and selecting a custom scale or the current scale of the map view, and from the presets as well. Might not work best here, but you can overlap labels if you want to see all the labels at all costs. Absolutely, that is possible. And if you're using a points data set, you have few other options, which I'll show on the points layer here. And let's say show labels here, and we have placement options on this particular area.
So here, the centered labeling option, for example, that would be good if you want to show site IDs or a numeric variable within the point itself. Otherwise, you can follow standard best practice. So here in the US, place the text either right or above right of the point symbol.
All right, give me just 1 second. I just spilled the water on the thing, so it's not liking the trackpad. All right, cool. All right, I don't necessarily want labels here, so I can just turn them off. But I'll move on to my next feature that I want to show off today is layer effects. You can move to Appearances tab to see layer effects. And we can now show like blooming and drop shadow effect. Let's start by adding blooming. Blooming will emphasize your points or lines or polygons and brings more focus to your data and the map. We can choose from different presets if you want a stronger or lighter effect, or you can just choose a strength that you feel is the correct one for your particular data set. Zooming in and panning around, the base effects on current scale button gets activated. So if you have a map that is set on a certain scale, then you can choose that to change the effect on that scale. It's really subtle when you zoom in, but when you zoom back out and or go to the home scale, and you will see the difference that it makes. It doesn't make sense to show the drop shadow effect on this one, so I'll move to the polygons layer and put some drop shadow over there. So going to layer effects again, turning on drop shadow, you can again choose from different types, different presets, or customize your values based on what you feel like the best for your maps. So, and of course adjust the blur, which is one of the significant things. It really pops out, your features and geometries really pop out and gives you a lot of control over how they look in your reports. Moving on, I want to show some of the updates that we did to heat maps. So I'll drag another card to my work area and switch the visualization to heat maps. And I will style it by power install capacity, so I have a better representation of that. Moving into appearances tab, now we have multiple different color palettes. If you have noticed, if you've used this before, you might have noticed we changed the default to the blue one to be more consistent. And here I will change the effect, and if you want to reverse it, that might be something that will be definitely interesting for you. You feel like that is more generalistic effect, and you don't necessarily see the enough distinction between your points. Now we have added radius here, so you can choose the radius and change it to make it more prominent or subtle according to your data set. So let's just type the value in, so I see that we have those concentrations of points and make it more prominent on the map. All right. If that is that is overwhelming, and if you feel like you're getting disoriented and you want to align your map to your orientation, and you can just right-click on any of these maps and try to rotate your maps and align it the way you like. You can go inside, not in the layer options, under card options. Under map options, you can choose the rotation to maybe upside down completely. Notice that your labels will turn around as you spin it. And you can turn off any base map layers if you want. If you don't want the reference labels to interact with your points, or if your labels that you have added. Right now, this data set just has one layer here.
So being able to enter a precise or exact rotation is something we added. It's useful if you're working on, for example, running a shopping mall, and or if you're working on an urban development where roads and walkways don't necessarily lie on a north, south, east, west horizontal vertical grid, then you can align it precisely to match your CAD or anything else that you have for your site or your facility.
Thanks. So that concludes our new mapping updates and enhancements that for insights. And we also recognize that these are really helpful to produce more precise and accurate reports, which gives you a lot of control on how you orient your maps and data. It is essential to have tools that can bring your analysis more engaging and useful to your users. So we have added a new entire component for report designing. Before I move on though, I want to create a little more cards, few more cards. We have not focused on the analysis, so without the analysis, it doesn't make sense to report anything. So let's start by creating a time series chart maybe to see what is the temporal distribution of our data, and create maybe a summary or like a reference table from facilities name, status, technology type, and power installed capacity. So let's create a reference table and make sure it is wide enough that we can see everything. And let's also create a technology type, a heat chart from technology type, facility status, and power installed capacity. So let's see, heat chart here. So let me put it down here and try to expand this card. I see we have null values. We can quickly filter those out by using advanced filters on a card. And I will use that formula that I've already copied. So it's basically saying if it's not null and facility status and technology type is not null, then filter them out. All right. So while that is done, we have few other things that I would like to do before I move on to Report Designer. You will get to know when I move to Report Designer if I was telling that, but no, don't need to worry. You can always come back to the page and make some edits to, and then go to Report Designer to align or do what you feel like what you want to do in Report Designer. So let's name a card, name this card saying max power installed. And I do like the name up in the card, but I don't want to have the small pill, so which shows the layer name. So I can just click on the layer options and remove that. Some of the other cards I can just remove the top card names. Maybe align my map and keep some of the things. Say if I don't want the filtering, quick filter over here, I can change that by, going into options and show or hide the slider, maybe add a gradient fill and smooth the line, etc. I can change page options beforehand so that I can remove the card background, and I love when you see the cards floating around and you can easily integrate that into some of the graphics that you have, maybe your logos or background graphics. So this is a great way to actually remove the backgrounds and just focus on your content and your report. So now we have done these changes. Let's move to Report Designer. The new component is right here on the top corner. And as the UI is quite similar to data engineering, we have tools on our left and the top. But there is one difference here. We have different views. So each page inside your workbook can store 4 different types of views for different devices, which is desktop layout, maybe a tablet layout, a phone layout. So you can switch to those layouts. And a print layout as well. Let's start by a desktop layout, and you can see your cards on the left usually, but when you move on to Report Designer, all the cards are active on your work area. So you could choose to remove those cards and they will appear on the left side here. You can move your cards around and it will affect only this particular view. So you can choose to design your view for different devices separately. You can choose multiple cards together, maybe move all of them together. And I see you're having snapping is interfering with my moving around with multiple cards, so I can just click on the canvas option, remove the snapping, and layout grid if you don't want to see that, and it will move around much easily. You can choose to group these cards so that they appear together. And you can see that the order is now they're now grouped inside your order of the cards. The order tab will show you more of a Z order, how your cards are laid on top of each other, and you can change that order here. If you choose to move the cards and you want to align them to a particular spot, for example, if I want to choose these two cards, I can choose from a line view here, and we can align them to a certain area. I haven't moved the cards around much to actually show how they can align to the left, but yeah, you get the idea here. So with this, I think I want to show a little bit more. There are a few more options on the print layout, which is more customizable now. So I'll move on to the print layout, and on the print layout you can choose which size of print you want. We have some presets here, common use paper sizes. On the left side there are a couple other options. On the tool pane you can change the orientation of your reports, and really want to print out horizontal reports, or maybe try changing the margins of your page. You can change to narrow, wide margins, or moderate, or even write down a custom margin if you have a certain size set for your reports that you deliver. I'll choose moderate for now, and start by adding some cards. So I'll move on back to my cards and start adding by one of the cards on the work area. If I see that I have some space and I want to name this report, in this particular view, you have an option to edit the headers. You can change the header background to what matches your color schemes, or you have presets that you can create and add your logo, maybe report title and date. And you can go in and customize how you want your date to look like. Same goes with the footer. You can add page location and maybe date on the date on the footer as well. Here I'll just add the page number, and you can change the type of the page number, or how you want to represent the page number as well. So it gives you a lot of control over how you want to customize your reports now. I would also like to put I think this is the legend on here, and I want to add a second page to my report. And once I add this page, I want to show my reference table that I created in the analysis prior. Once I drag and drop it here, I have two options. I can represent it as just a static card, which will show whatever it is showing in your page layout. Or you can add it as a table, especially helpful when you're reporting to state agencies and they want to see their data alongside with your maps and reports that you and the analysis that you have created. So you will notice that this gives an animation and a stack of pages. We have 966 records here, and you can go in and customize those on your basically output pages. And I can see now that card files appearing right here, and I forgot to change that in my previous page view. So I'll move back to the page view, maybe change the name of the card here, or just like hide that card name and go back to report designer. It will reflect that particular change in my report designer. So have like seamless table in front of me. So we spend a lot of time. You can take your time, spend a lot of time with the reports, make it your own, make it customizable for your particular organization. And I think Chris will show the report that we have created for this particular data set from some of the cards we have.
So this is exactly what you just saw. Akshay's just spent more time on it to enhance it for what would be a more publishable report for an organization, adding background graphics. And you can see here the same thing that Akshay was showing with, the same thing as Akshay was showing with the tables and the maps. The other thing Akshay was we were going to show when you print it. So when you come to print this, and it will create a report as a PDF. If you're using the Enterprise or online, it will appear in the web browser, the same as Insights. Here I have it in desktop, so it pops up a separate window. And you'll see here that when Akshay dragged the table and opted for multiple page, you'll see when it reaches the end of the page, it just overflows to the next page and continues with the next record. So we're hoping this gives you a kind of idea of the main themes that we've added. Akshay has a copy of the report in front of him.
There you go.
So this is kind of a printout to prove that you've seen it in the application, you've seen it printed out. We actually have some copies in a box up here if you want to come have a look and take any away with you.
Yep.
Is there anything?
No, I think that's pretty much it for the report designer. And with power of Canva or Adobe Express or whatever you feel like, and you can design and customize your report. Background graphics with cutouts in it, like you have seen on the other page, helps a lot to bring character to your reports. So definitely spend a lot of time and really tap into your creative brains to make a fantastic report that wows everyone.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Akshay. So thank you, Akshay, and thank you everyone for listening. That brings us to the end of the session. We would appreciate it if you could share your feedback on the app. So just some instructions on screen of how to do that. If you can log into the app, find and select this session, scroll down to survey, and if you're logged in, you'll be able to give us feedback. With that, I'll hand over to all of you for some questions. I think we'll take a handful from online first, and then from the audience in the room. Just to recap, and so you know a little bit about our involvement in this, I've worked mainly on the maps and charts side of things. Akshay's been doing the data engineering that you saw, but we'll do our best to answer anything at all on Insights. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
So online we have a few questions. One of them was around 3D. We don't currently support 3D. It's something that we have looked into, and if anyone has any particular requests around that, I'd encourage them to feed that directly back to us. Most of the other questions online, thank you to Matt, who seems to have answered them all correctly for us, so thank you very much for that. Are there any further questions here in the room? Yes?
Yeah.
So is the reporting tool and the reports that you create standalone? Did you just use them standalone, like get a direct link to them, or do they have to be accessed through a workbench? And also, is the data engineering viewer also standalone, or is that specifically attached to the workbench?
So can you switch to my screen maybe?
Yes.
So the question is the report that we created here is a standalone report only, or it can be live? And let's start by answering that question. Maybe I'll have you repeat your question. So you can go to your desktop layout and you can publish this report to your connected organization, or once you publish this report, you have an option to get an iframe tag, so you can embed that in your other website, or even like ArcGIS dashboards or some other area apps, experience builder, etc. So what was the other part of your question, please?
Oh, for a data engineer.
Yeah. So data engineering is right now specific to Insights desktop deployment. So you can create workbooks in ArcGIS Insights desktop at this moment. It's in preview right now, so we are working towards making it happen for enterprise as well. So hopefully we'll see that changes coming soon.
So then if you wanted to do something, you'd have to do it in desktop and then it would edit there?
Yeah, so all your data, so the question is like they say, if you can edit in desktop and then transfer your data somewhere else. Yes, so when you create your data engineering model, you have an option to export that data to a databases. So you can, if that database is connected to your enterprise system or somewhere else where you're consuming Insights desktop, Insights basically ArcGIS Insights, and you can bring that data directly there. But having that data transferred from here from data engineering workbook to your database has to be done through the desktop component. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yes?
You mentioned a 250,000 record cap.
Mm-hmm.
Was that specific to the data engineering, or is that just apply to Insights as well?
So 250,000 cap on data engineering data sets is just for working in the workbook. So when you actually run the model, it will run it on the entire data set. If it's a million rows data set, it will run all the operation on that entire million. It's just for working inside the workbook. And there is no cap on we are not cutting down your data for sure. Yes?
First, thanks for making something so user-friendly and also accessible on Mac OS.
Thank you.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts about what we can expect beyond this release, like what's on your wish list.
Yes, so the question is, what is on our wish list for adding new features to ArcGIS Insights? We have lots of ideas, but some of the things in terms of data engineering wise, we are looking into adding more functionality such as append tool, so you can combine multiple data set and pivot table, so you can pivot your data from rows to columns and columns to rows, etc. In terms of analysis, maybe if you have any insights, you can share some of those.
Yep, absolutely. Firstly and foremost, I want to encourage all of you to feedback to us what you would like to see in the next releases of Insights, because that's kind of key to us. Is Insights has quite, compared to lots of other apps, Insights has a very diverse audience, and you're all doing lots of wonderfully different things with it. So we really need to narrow down exactly what will help you. There are, I know, because I work a lot on the map and chart stuff, we do anticipate more map enhancements going in, but beyond that I can't really say. There's the timeline we have is not something that we are yet able to share or publish, unfortunately.
Maybe in the back. Yeah.
So the graphics on your in-text report,
Uh-huh.
at what part of your workflow
Yes, so let me go back to that report.
So just to repeat the question was, at what stage did we add all the background graphics into the report? So Akshay's just going to show.
Yeah, so it doesn't necessarily matter when you add the background graphics. I like to add it first because that gives you a little bit more flexibility on or idea of what you're designing. So for example, I can add an image here and I can just like choose to drag this image, and like I have this, the one that I was using here as a background graphics. Once I add, let's give it a sec, I think it will take a sec. And once I add that, I will, first thing I'll do is before I add any cars, maybe I'll add that first. So that's my base layer. So I'll send it to back and make sure that it is aligned to what I'm trying to do and increase the size or whatever may have you. Or even just add the text along with it, etc.
Although just to be doubly clear on this, Akshay's not doing this in the page view, in the analysis view. He's doing it in the report builder. So you could do it anywhere. It honestly is what works better for you, but the reason why we do this is because you can then bespoke have different ones for the different layouts. So you don't necessarily have to have one size fits all, because with pages one size won't fit all. Okay. Here at the front, and then we'll come back to the side if that's okay. Sorry. Yes. Yes.
Can you show us a little bit about the forecasting capability of insight?
Forecasting?
Yes, because I read that's the thing that differentiates insights from again.
There's lots of differences between insights and dashboards to start with. So dashboards, in terms of ArcGIS dashboards, is for a real-time view of what's happening right now, to be able to track a set of metrics. What we're doing, we describe as geo-visual analytics. So it's more looking at a set of data to understand better what's happening to make decisions. So it's not seeing what's going on right now, it's seeing what has been evolving to try to influence your decision making. Actually, I don't know if you have one to hand, a time series that's long enough.
To 2000. So 2000 probably current.
Years, right?
That's just years though. Yeah.
If you give us a second, perhaps we can take another question and come back, and I'll see if I can find a data set where I can show you quickly.
I think the Bitcoin one maybe.
Okay, if you want to.
Yeah.
I have a question for the reporting. Do you have to schedule updates to the data, or does it just, when it runs the report, it pulls the live data at that moment in time?
So the question is, for the reporting, do you want to schedule update?
It doesn't need to be scheduled, or is it?
Okay, so the question is, do you have to schedule it for updating or not? You don't need to schedule for update. So there are differences when you publish your page. You can just like go and publish the page. You don't even have to go to Report Designer, and it will publish a static page. If you had some cross filters or data set, then at that point the shared page is live, and you probably want to also schedule it for update. So once that time, it's not Satellite, it's actually retaining live connection to the data. But when you don't have the cross filters enabled, it creates a snapshot of that particular report in time. In that select for filtering, you can quickly add the predefined filters here. And that predefined filter is assigned to a specific category. Say, for example, I want to filter out technology type. Then I will add it by value. And that is specific to the technology type and this particular data set. So any charts and cars created from this data set will be filtered out. So yes, if that makes sense. So that will definitely be the case. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. No, because I was wondering, because in the past I wanted to be able to update the other layers that are in relationship with that other, the feature layer that's being filtered. And,
Okay.
And it doesn't update usually on when I've done it in the past.
Maybe we can take it offline and we can discuss a little bit more and try to see what exactly you want to. Maybe I'm not entirely getting the entire picture of what you're trying to do. So yeah, we definitely can after the session meet. Any other questions we have?
Perhaps a last question from someone? No? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And we've enjoyed speaking to you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, please do, if you're interested in the reports, if you want to show them to anyone in your organization or anything, please help yourselves.
Yep.